be your life.
Welcome, however you've come to find me today, I'm glad that you have. Today we are finally going to be making McCalls M7997. I think probably over a year now since I've had the pattern. We're actually going to get to making it. Really looking forward to it because I really need a sew day. I've been sewing bits and pieces here and there, but I haven't actually had a whole day where I've done something from start to finish. So that's what I'm hoping to do today, hoping to finish it. I made a muslin actually quite a while ago, probably back in the summertime, and it didn't quite fit, but I just kind of just left it to one side and was like, whatever. So I'm going to remake another one now because I'm really trying to focus now on making my garments fit in a certain way, making sure we get all the fits and everything, we can tweak the pattern perfectly, and yeah, then we can get started on making it into real fabric. So let's get on. That's enough of an introduction, and I will catch up with you guys in a little bit. So it's a little bit later on now. The muslin is finished. I really quite like how it fits. This is the second one I've done, so it's not a first try and it's got like this. I did it first, kind of identified all the areas that needed to be changed, and now I've done it a second time. It's still not, I don't think, 100%. I really like the way it fits at the back. I've had to learn how to make some adjustments for backs of dresses and blouses and everything, and trousers as well, to sort of accommodate my derriere. So I really quite like how this looks. It doesn't like drop, it actually curves with my back, which I think is really lovely. But the front, I think, is where I have quite a lot of difficulty in trying to get the fit. It's finding that balance between what is comfortable, what looks nice, and what's flattering. I think is probably the balance I'm trying to get. So I've checked the drawing and it looks like the buttons down the front are supposed to be straight. I don't think I'm going to be able to get them to be straight, because if I pull it so that it's straight, it's then not super comfortable. So that's it, like dead on straight. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with the buttons. So there's a part of me that's thinking having it like this is comfortable, and the buttons they are technically straight, but they will be diagonal. It would make it more of a A-line type shape at the bottom as opposed to a straight pencil. So like I said, that's it, dead on straight, which isn't super comfortable. Like I'm properly sucking in all of the air from my body. But then, yeah, if it's like this, then it's a bit easier. And also as well, it's not just the air out of my body, it's where again, it's like fitting it around my bum, of being able to like sit down comfortably and walk around and things like that, and not constantly feel like my legs are trapped. Which is another thing that's quite difficult to accommodate. One thing that's not ideal is that the side seam, although it is straight, it kind of tilts a bit more to the back. I did expand the back bodice to try and counterbalance that, but I don't know if it's done as good a job as I had hoped. And then also what I thought was quite weird is that even though I cut them out the same, actually when I stitched it, one side was slightly longer or shorter than the other, which I thought was a bit strange, but it might have just been the way that I cut it out. Maybe I was rushing, and obviously it's just a just a test, so it doesn't matter a whole bunch. But yeah, I think I'm quite happy with it. I think I'm just going to cut it out now in like best fabric and just see. It's about trying, and then I think once it's in best fabric you can probably like adjust it a bit more and sort of see again if there's any additional tweaks that need to be made. One thing I need to do actually before I do that is test the sleeve. So I've cut just a short sleeve, so I'm going to sew that on and see what that looks like, because I think if anything that will be the thing that trips me up, because my biceps are quite defined. So I definitely want to make sure there's room around it. I mean, it's all well and good getting it to fit nice around my body, but if my arms actually can't move, then that's again a completely different story, and again is why I need to be conscious about where the buttons are landing. So I definitely have the room, because I have room now where there's no sleeve, but as soon as I have a sleeve on, will I still have the room? That is the question. So yeah, so far I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. As long as the sleeve and everything fits, we can start cutting it out in best. Okay, so we've got the sleeve in. I'm not completely sure if you're gonna be able to see it super well in this light. So I haven't stitched the armhole all the way because it was too big to fit in as I was trying to stitch it, but I knew that it would fit, if that makes sense. So if I made it smaller, there's even a hole here as well, but if I made it smaller, I wouldn't have this room, basically. It'd be too tight. So I'm just trying to think in my head what I can do, but I think there's some sort of connection, because hopefully you can see, but where the gap is there's also like a little bit of extra fabric here. So I think the shoulder really needs to move up just literally a touch, which would take out some of this fabric here. But then I'm thinking if I can almost open this to make it wider here for the sleeve to fit a bit better, I can then almost take the fabric back out again. I don't know if that's even actually a thing, but in my head it makes sense. I'm going to have a little bit of a look into that to see if that is actually something that you can do, because I don't really want to make another muslin. I think 2 is enough, to be honest. It's pretty much almost there. It's just the armhole issue, and the sleeve, it is too tight, but I mean, we knew that was going to happen anyway, so I just need to give a bit more room in that. I'm trying to think of the easiest way to do it. So as you can see here, I'm bending my arm and there's all these creases, and it's like super tight. So I definitely want to relieve some of that, because the dress is lined, so I'll have the lining and the actual outer fabric, so that will be super tight once it's actually on, completely done. So yeah, like I said, it's pretty much done. I just need to have a look, do a bit of research about this front shoulder section here, potentially bringing up the shoulder front and back just literally by, I think it's probably 1.5 centimeters, if that. If I fold that over again, it does take out some of that excess fabric. I just need to find out if that is an adjustment you can make, because I don't want to add fabric. I just need to literally add some fabric here and then take it from here. There we go. Yes, and then we can cut it out in proper fabric. So yeah, go us. Looking into the sleeve adjustment, and there was something about the cap head of a sleeve having an impact on how your sleeve fits. So I just had to play around with that on my muslin. I made the cap height shorter and then had a look to see what that did, and it made the movement in actually a lot more restrictive. So I'm going to keep the cap height the same as how I'd cut it, and I've just added in like a tiny extra bit of fabric just down, a bit of space just down the side here. It's literally like not even that much space because I didn't really need that much. It's about half a centimetre on either side, so it should be a centimetre all the way around. I honestly can't remember where I got the fabric from, whether or not it's fabric that I purchased or if it's fabric I managed to get from places that I've worked in the past. So we will catch up tomorrow for part 2 of the sew day, and yeah, hopefully get quite a lot of things done. So we're on point 8 now. Pin undercollar to neck edge, clipping dress neck edge where necessary, base, stitch large circles, pivoting at small circles, trim. So how I've done it, I've basically matched up all the marking points. So I have matched up my small circles as best as possible. They're not 100% in place, but I've matched up my small circles there where they meet, and my large circles here where they meet. So I've done that on both sides, and then I made sure to match the points where the shoulders meet. So there's little triangle markings on there. So there's triangles on the undercollar, which is this bit with the interface on, and then at the shoulder seam there. And then I matched up through the back of the neck, so pin that down, so then the center seam that would have been down the center of the back of the dress matches up with this center seam down the back of the undercollar, and then you're left with this bit here that's gaping. Because we've understitched the neck edge of the dress already, we can now just make some small clippings so that we're spreading, giving it a bit more room in this neck edge area to fit this undercollar in. And you don't want to clip too much. I always just try and go in stages, and you want to focus on the areas where you are getting these like waves, is all I can think to call it. So you want to try and hold it a bit flat on your work piece, on your garment, and then just clip in the areas where you can see it quite obviously. So I'm going to make a clip here, and when it says clip, it literally, I used to think you had to cut out a triangle, but all you need to do is just cut down to where you've done your stay stitching, and it will form a triangle itself. So I've just done one slit there, and I'm going to do one slit here just because I'm slightly obsessed with symmetry. So that's kind of smoothed it out a little bit, but then I think down, if I do another slit down here in this center bit, that will probably help it, give it a bit more room as well. And I purely just eyeball this, I don't really give it too much thought, and then it's a little bit fiddly, so you've now got to try and smooth it all out. And because this will be a curve, you will want to curve it around a little bit as well. So where I'm spreading it now, spreading this neck edge so that I'm creating the V where I've done that little slit, so that I'm covering off more of the fabric that's there. So I'll put in a pin there, and obviously it's stretched there now across, and then I will continue doing that for the rest of it. And I think actually those 3 slits are actually fine. Well, it does take a little bit of fiddling to do. You just need to try and smooth it out, but know that this is the neck edge, so it is going to be on a curve on your body, so it makes sense to curve it around and sort of spread the fabric as you go. But the main thing is that you want where the seam will be for it to be smooth. So here I could feel just a little bit like it wouldn't necessarily be completely smooth, so then that just means I'm just going to put in an extra pin here to just sort of help hold that a little bit in place. And I probably could get away with doing another slip, but I'll leave it with the 3 in there for just now, and then I'm just going to do the same on the other side. So actually this side has probably turned out a lot better than the other side. So the next step that you want to do is a basting stitch, which I always do hand basting just because I find it a bit easier to get some control. And why you're doing that is because you're basically putting in a temporary seam line so that you can take the pins out, and when you sew it under the machine you can continue to make that curved shape that you're trying to get so that it sits more flat around the neck edge. Seams of the lining, I'm gonna do a the name of it is completely slipped my mind, but basically what I'm gonna do a seam so that it encloses all the raw edges inside the seam, because then that means I don't have to worry about overlocking the lining edges. It's gonna bug me that I can't remember what the name of the seam is, but French seam. Got there. I knew it was a country of some sort. What it means is that I'll do like a 5mm seam, right sides together, and then you flip it back. Sorry, wrong sides together, then you flip it out, so then it's right sides together, then you sew the seam again, then it encases in all the raw edges. I do that very often with linings and chiffon and any sort of fabric that is really delicate and frayed and is really lightweight, because like I said, it just encases all the raw edges inside, and then you don't have to worry about neatening the edges, and I feel like it just gives it a bit of a nicer finish. love. So this is the final dress, all completed. And it is meant to be double breasted, but I've done it single breasted with the buttons at a slight diagonal, as I said I would. I'm not as happy with it as I thought I would have been. Now that I've got it on and the buttons are in, this gapes a lot more than I thought it would, and it gapes a lot more than it did when I was like trying to put buttons on. Not completely sure what's happened there. And also down the front I now have a lot of loose fabric just at the top of the bust area here around my shoulders, so that's a bit annoying as well. I don't feel as great with it on as I hoped I would. The body is fine, but the front torso, I'm still gonna have to learn how to get this sort of chest shoulder area sorted out properly, but it's all a learning curve and it's the first one that I've done. I'll definitely make another one now that I know how to do it, and probably revisit the button situation again and figure out if maybe I just need to do my own button placement and decide on how high or how low I want to start it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. In the comments below, let me know if you've made this dress or if you're planning on making it. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys next time.